morning. My name is Joseph Citron, and I am the chair of the Community Redevelopment Agency for this meeting held today, September 9th, 2021. Councilman Dingfelder, I believe you are downstairs.
Honored to introduce this morning's invoker is Bishop Designate Jeffrey Johnson. Reverend Dr. Johnson is the pastor and founder of Connections Community Church of Tampa and Lake Wales. Reverend Dr. Johnson currently serves as a member of the East Tampa CAC board, and he's also a board member of Lutheran Services Florida Policy Council, American Heart Association Health Equity Committee. He is the senior manager of community development for United Way Suncoast as well. Reverend Johnson and his wife have three amazing sons, Jeffrey, Josiah, and Jonah. We welcome Reverend Dr. Johnson, and we appreciate you volunteering this morning to give the invocation at our council meeting.
Thank you. Could we all please rise and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance afterwards?
Good morning to all of you, and thank you for this wonderful opportunity to share space with you in this spiritual moment. Heads bowed, eyes are closed. Whatever your faith walk is, this is a great opportunity for you just to reflect on life itself. How often, and seldom rather, we take for granted just the essence of life. How many persons have succumbed to COVID-19? How many family members are distressed because of that? A country seems to be in civil unrest and so many disparaging things, but we are still here. God of peace, we invite you to preside over this meeting. Even if we have different opinions, give us the unity of spirit. Help us to each listen politely as others share their points of view. Help us to work as a unified team in combining ideas for a great outcome for the city in which we love. Help us to work as a whole rather than as individuals trying to promote our own agendas. May we have a spirit of camaraderie in this room, virtually, and work together on our shared mission. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Roll call.
Thanks.
Miranda. Goods.
Here.
Dingfelder.
Here.
Maniscalco.
Here.
Vieira. Carlson.
Here.
And Citro.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
Let's hear from legal, please.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the CRA, Brian Morrison, Assistant City Attorney. This meeting of the Tampa Community Redevelopment Agency is being conducted with a live in-person quorum of the CRA present in council chambers. However, in light of continuing COVID-19 government-issued health standards or guidance in effect, members of the public are also encouraged and allowed to participate virtually through video, audio, teleconferencing, referred to by Florida statutes and rules as Communications Media Technology, or CMT. The public and citizens of Tampa are able to watch or listen to this meeting on cable, Spectrum Channel 640 and Frontier Channel 15, or on the internet at tampa.gov/livestream. Members of the public may also virtually participate in this CRA public meeting through CMT by sending written comments to tampa.gov/public comment, email to tampacitycouncil@tampa.gov.net, by U.S. mail to the City of Tampa clerk, or speak remotely through the use of CMT by going to tampa.gov/public comment. Members of the public may also participate here at Old City Hall on the second floor, which is at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard, Tampa. Please note that the use of masks and social distancing inside the building are encouraged. And Mr. Chair, I would ask the board to waive the rules and adopt rules that would be consistent with the notice. Thank you.
We have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record reflect that the motion passed unanimously. I believe we have some agenda cleaning up we have to do. Have all of you received the email from our legal, Morris Massey, regarding agenda item number 3 from the a representative from the Strass Center who is asking for a continuance until October 14th? Yes, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, could I just comment on that?
Briefly, yes.
Yeah, I think we have 5 minutes, right? If we need to comment on something. But I think that I read the story this morning, and as the buzz of this started circulating around town yesterday, it sent shockwaves to the arts community. I think it's a very dangerous precedent for us to make this change. As you all may know, with the Great Recession and then other priorities, the city has not funded the arts or reduced the funding of the arts over the last 10 to 15 years. The arts community feels that we have not been supportive of them, and that's the arts community in general, and we need to come forward and support them. Also, the arts community, in particular, the performing arts, has suffered greatly under COVID. The private arts groups and the nonprofit arts groups, and as you know, this is a city-owned facility. This city-owned facility is a state-of-the-art, is well known and well respected worldwide, has great management, but it needs to be updated and upgraded. The plan to upgrade this facility has been delayed by more than a year because of COVID. The Strass Center has suffered because of COVID and the reduced revenues and inability to meet. Their plan is to, among other things, to activate the Riverwalk, offer free programming outdoors for the public, to improve its programs of offering arts education to the public. A 30-day delay to us seems like 30 days, but to the arts community, this is a sign that we're not supporting the arts. The arts, as you may know, are not only an amenity, they're an economic engine, and I encourage all of you or anybody watching to watch the YouTube video of the Mayor's Forum on the Arts a couple years ago. There was a panel on the economic engine of the arts, and an example is a software engineering company spoke, and a senior executive there said that the arts are not just an amenity. Our best and brightest programmers are artists. They studied music, they studied the humanities in school, and they will only live in a community, they will only work in a community, only work for companies that are in communities that have active, vibrant arts programs. And so it's not just something that's nice to have, it's essential for our tech economy and our innovation economy. And that company, by the way, just went public and is going to make a lot of money from being successful in that. We need to continue to support the arts. As you know, the CRAs are subsidized by the rest of the city, and my district doesn't have a CRA, so that means we're one of the areas that's the net donor. My district and other districts throughout the city are begging for better sidewalks and better parks. We have broken sidewalks, broken roads. And if we're going to subsidize something, we need to subsidize something that's an economic engine, that's a benefit to everyone in the city so that everyone in the city can participate. And I encourage us to go ahead and make this decision today. This decision is the CRA board, which is us, and the arts desperately need this as a sign, not only for this campaign, but for the arts in general. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Carlson, I would agree with you if this were a request coming from some other entity. But this is a request coming from the Strass Center. Councilman Goose.
That was going to be my question to Mr. Massey. If the request is coming from the requestor, want to know why they're requesting, do we have information why they're requesting the continuance? Mr. Massey?
Morris Massey, Deputy City Attorney. The request came yesterday from the Strass asking for a 30-day continuance of this item. It's just for 30 days is the request from the Strass. There was no reason given why they were requesting it. I did speak to their legal representative, and he did not give me a reason for the request, but they did request a 30-day delay for consideration of this agreement between the CRA and the Tampa Bay Performing Arts Center, Inc. and the Tampa Bay Performing Arts Center Foundation, Inc. And typically we would not move forward with an agreement if the party that we're trying to enter an agreement with is requesting a delay for whatever reason, but we want to make sure that all the parties.
So it seems to me that apparently the contract that we're giving them there still need time to review the contract that we've given them.
To my knowledge, they reviewed it, and at least from their legal representative, I wasn't aware of any issues. But there may be some now. There may be further discussions. They're just asking that it be delayed for 30 days or until the next CRA meeting. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Without further discussion, I will entertain a motion to continue this until October 14th.
So moved.
Second. And let me speak to something.
Sure.
If I may. Let me just say that I have no valid interest in none of these city-owned properties, which is the aquarium, Zoo Tampa and the Straz. Although I have no vested interest, when I have a few dollars left over, I send a donation to the Straz, I send a donation to the aquarium, and I send a donation to Zoo Tampa. And I supported the original $25 million to the Straz. However, there is a 25 million seems like a lot of money, and it's not a lot of money. I spoke that the Straz, when things were real bad in Tampa, downtown Tampa, had nothing to speak of. And I took the responsibility for and against. I had other entities telling me, how come you're investing money in downtown and you're not doing in the West Shore? I'm just going to use West Shore area, the mall, for instance, and so forth, as a example. And the answer is clear. Every human being's only got one heart. And without the heart, no matter who you are, you can't survive. In every city that's got 200,000 or 250,000 and above, if it doesn't have a heart like a downtown, it's actually dying. Whether I like it or not, that's a reality. The Straz was there when we were barely in a respirator. They had COVID before COVID was invented. And they stood strong, and they worked to make exactly what Mr. Carlson talked about, a place to go, a place to see. Brought in people from around the area, one of the better, or if not the best, center of its size in the whole United States. They've come and asked for a 30-day continuance. I've also heard rumors about different amounts of money, and nothing substantial that I've heard one way or the other. But I've heard that they had a meeting. I wasn't there, and I shouldn't have been there. I'm not on the board of trustees of the Straz. I was many years ago, and they're fine-run organizations, just like the aquarium is, just like Zoo Tampa is. All those that I mentioned, along with the convention center, in essence, are city properties. Let me tell you about me. I'll be damned if I'm going to support anything on the other side of the coin for any sports, and I'm not anti-sport, let me say that. But I guarantee you that they don't pay no ad valorem tax to sports. We don't own the facilities. We don't have a role in anything they do. And when this comes up, if I'm still alive, it's going to be a negative vote for me. And I'm not comparing the Straz to sports or the aquarium or Zoo Tampa. But I'm tired of listening to all this stuff and political ramblings of all, including myself, about what we've done and we're going to do. I can tell you this, I will not support any expansion on any sports or bringing any team to Tampa. It's cost Tampa a lot of kudos in this country and in this city. This city is great enough without me supporting multi-billionaire corporations that they give millions of dollars away because they don't pay anything to anybody. So I'm going to stay my ground, and I will support the 30-day extension. Thank you.
Councilman Dick Felder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As your representative on the Straz board, as the city's representative on the Straz board, obviously I've been deeply involved in this and tremendously supportive of this entire effort. This is a $100 million capital campaign. 50 million of it is going to be private money, private donations. But I wanted to mention something really, really important. And this has actually been discussed quite a bit recently. It's been calculated, some people say, well, this is just for people who have tickets, people who are willing to pay $100 to go into that building, okay? They've calculated that out of the $80 million of hard costs, at least 22 million of that, about more than a fourth or more than 25%, a fourth, is for the public realm, is to make improvements that actually open up the facility to the public. The restaurants that they're going to be building are all going to be open up to the public. They're building an amphitheater on the river with part of that $22 million. That's going to be open to the public. So there's a misconception that this is just for rich people. It's not. And as a matter of fact, even to this day, without any of this money, The Performing Arts Center opens its doors to the public for free for numerous events, for children, for people who can't otherwise afford it. Judy can come over and talk to us about it, and I'm going to ask Mr. Chairman to put her on the agenda for next month before we vote so she can explain that in full. Mr. Vieira, I couldn't help but, we can't talk in advance of meetings, but I couldn't help but read your name in the article, and I don't know if the article quoted you exactly right, but it concerns me a little bit because this $25 million figure is not new, okay? As a matter of fact, I asked Michelle the other day how long we've been talking about $25 million for the Strauss, and I think, what did you say, January, February of this year, Michelle? So this is not a new number, okay? I don't know why it's a surprise to anybody. I don't know why it's, a surprise at all. And we've actually taken some sort of straw votes on it as we proceeded. So it disturbs me that now we might be jumping ship. And I just want to say, Mr. Vieira, that I know this councilman, this CR member, tries to be as supportive as possible of everybody's initiatives. Okay, whether or not it's a special needs park up in New Tampa or what have you, we all try and help out each other when these issues are important to one another. So, Mr. Chairman, I will support the 30 days because the Strauss folks have requested it. And I've got a long-winded way of getting there, I know, Joe. But I just wanted to make a few of those, I think, important points, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No, when we usually talk about continuances at other meetings we have, we usually just talk about the continuances. These discussions, I think, are better felt, are more meaningful on the 14th when we're discussing the real issue. Councilman Vieira.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just very briefly, because I know we have a meeting to run, Councilman Dingfelder's words are well taken because we do try to support one another. I see this 30-day continuance as an effort by our friends at the Strass Center, and we all support their mission to try to be collaborative and to try to get a 7-0 vote. So, and I know that Councilman Dingfelder serves on that board, very deferential to his opinions on matters regarding the arts, et cetera, because you're very passionate about it, thanks to your work, the work of your wonderful wife and others, et cetera. So I think there is universal support on this board for a liberal amount of support for the Strass Center. And I mean liberal in terms of significant, that's something that we should all support. This has come up a number of times before in Tampa City, or I should say in CRA meetings, and I did express some concern. If you remember last time I said, well, I got questions on that before we ultimately take the vote. Remember, in another 30 days, et cetera, in terms of doing our homework, et cetera. That's my position. I'm not here, number one, to be clear, I'm not here to call anyone's question, anyone's record or anything of that matter into question. For example, I mentioned housing. Councilman Dingfelder and Councilman Goods have done more on housing, affordable housing, probably than all of us combined. Certainly more than this councilman. That's for darn sure. So in other words, when I say things like that, I'm not saying anything to put people in the spot. People's votes are their own. There's just a matter that I'm presently comfortable with. But again, that's what dialogue is for. That is what talk is for, et cetera, et cetera. So, my feelings on the matter are my feelings alone. I'm not looking at flipping anybody's votes, et cetera, just to merely state my opinion. But I do that with immense respect for the work of the Strass Center, in particular with immense respect for what Councilman Dingfelder wants, because I do think in the end, we all are going to be able to get on board for something that goodness willing, we can all support. That's what I'm working for, and that's what I hope that we get. Again, I certainly have my opinions on it, which I'm not going to get into at this time, and whatnot, but they're all within a context of respect. So to my friend John, your comments are well taken, and again, we'll hopefully go on that journey together, and whatever it is, it'll be a journey of respect and friendship. So thank you, sir.
Without any more discussion, again, who was it? Councilman Vieira and Councilman Maniscalco? I'm sorry. Motion made by Councilman Vieira, seconded by Councilman Goods. Roll call vote, please.
Vieira. Yes. Citro.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Dingfelder.
Yes.
Carlson.
No.
Maniscalco. No. And Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried with Carlson and Maniscalco voting no.
I thank you all very much for that. Ms. Van Loan, do you have anything you want to add, anything you need to add? There's a walk-on here.
We sent a memorandum of a walk-on requested for the FY22 budget, and I'm happy to discuss that further when that item comes up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is Mr. Harding downstairs? Sure.
Mr. Chair, if we could take public comment before we
Okay,
get to
you are correct. Let's go to public comment.
Good morning. Michael Farmer, East Tampa resident. I'm here this morning to give Mr. Dean Felder and his assistant a heartfelt thank you. It's been about a year that you and the council members helped me with a situation with code enforcement. So it's been about a year. I've been busy upgrading my home, so I found this opportunity to say thank you to both you and your assistant. I wanted to make sure that all the council members got an email that I sent you pertaining to Clarence Ford Park. So I just wanted to say that to Mr. Goods, thank you also for doing your best at the Fair Oaks Community Center. You made a comment that you can talk to the different departments, but you can't make them do anything. And I understand, especially when you are talking, representing a person like me who is very vocal about gentrification, about the blight in the neighborhood, tractor trailers on the front lawn, heavy equipments on the front lawn. Also, I just wanted to say that I was at the Tuesday CAC meeting, and if you have any questions as far as that event, morning event, Mr. Cedric McCray can fill you in. So thank you very much all, and I hope that you got the email. If not, then I will try to send it out. I'll check with the clerk. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your kind words, sir.
Mentes Knott, Tampa, Florida. I would like to first say happy birthday to Miss Gwendolyn Small, 102 years of age, and that's a wonderful mark to make. Hopefully I'll be up there one day. And really happy birthday to Mama Small, making it to 102. And no association, but I'll also like to say that I really commend City Councilman Charlie Miranda on the comments he made this morning, which, you know, certain people at a certain segment of the community have been saying for decades now, why are we supporting certain sport teams and that really don't do any give back to the community or to the people in any way whatsoever, but we throw tax dollars and tax funding behind it. So that being said, which I've said previously, I think Charlie Miranda needs to run for mayor because we'll hear a different voice. So at least you'll have one vote, which would be my vote, and probably lots more votes than that. Getting back to form, it's really important that our representatives and all the representatives of City Council understand that we as Africans constitutes 26% of this population in this city of Tampa, and we need 26% of what's going on. We need 26% of the good things that's going on in this community. We don't need 80% of the prison population. We don't need 90% of the arrests. We don't need 99% of the bicycle stops. If it's 26%, then that would be fair and equitable. But we need 26% of the good things that goes on in this city. We need to start talking about reparations that this city and businesses in this city owes to us as African people since the formation of this city in 1859. So those are some of the things that we need, and we need our city council representatives to know what's going on in the hood. A lot of people don't know what's going on in the hood. Like, you know, we need the city council representatives to pick up their phones, call the state representatives and say, hey, what's going on with these stimulus checks that where they took from fathers allegedly owing child support or individuals owing child support in the middle of a pandemic. That's hateful. That's definitely hateful. So there are other things that's going on inside this community that black people are not represented on. Suspending people's driver's license for child support. That's illegal and unconstitutional. We need our city council representatives to pick up the phones, call Judge Figueroa, call Cindy Stewart and tell them, hey, that's wrong. That don't need to happen to City of Tampa Council residents. People who live inside this city, we need our city council representatives not tell us that, hey, that's not our area, call your state representatives. Most people don't even know the name Darrell Rousson, and that's one of our state representatives.
Thank you
so
very much,
that need to
sir.
change.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, there are no other speakers.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment on the phone?
No registered speakers.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, please, can I have a motion to approve the addendum for our meeting? Second. Motion's been made by Councilman Good, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Let the record reflect the motion passed unanimously. Ms. Van Loan.
Good morning, Ms. Van Loan, or Michelle Van Loan, Community Redevelopment Agency. Our first item on the agenda this morning is Adam Harden, who has requested to come and speak before you this morning. Mr. Harden?
Good morning. I can see myself. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you accommodating me. I had reached out to a few individually and wanted to give the group an update on the Heights project, and additionally bring you up to speed on a minor text amendment that we were pushing forward for the community redevelopment area plan. So,
Adam, can you speak up a little?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Is it possible to turn on the Elmo for a minute?
It should be on.
Okay.
We won't charge extra for that.
Speak for yourself.
Can y'all see the graphic?
Not yet.
I can just see myself.
Not yet.
So as you know, the Heights Community Redevelopment Area is a 75-acre area on the north side of the Hillsborough River, which is surrounded by existing established neighborhoods of historic Ridgewood, Riverside Heights, Tampa Heights, South Seminole Heights, and the Uptown Council really on our bottom edge, so kind of a key parcel. We had entered an interlocal agreement with the city some time back for new infrastructure. This area was previously industrial, and at this point is moving forward with the plan. Everybody's familiar with Armature Works, which is really our first initiative to reactivate the project. At this point, the portions of the public project that have been completed, we've extended the river walk to North Boulevard. The new regional lift station, which serves not only the development but neighborhoods to the north, has been installed. New public streets, a new public street grid. The 13 old 100-year-old plats were vacated, and the development's been replatted as the Heights of Tampa. The village to the east side of the plan, blocks 1, 2, 3, and 4, we call Heights Union. And when we undertook the project, we said that we really wanted the story of Heights to be about jobs, new jobs for Tampa. And, at this point now, the 300,000 square feet, phase one of Heights Union, our creative office is fully leased. As some of you may have seen the announcement, we have a Pfizer global capability hub, which is 100,000 square feet. We have the Axogen headquarters, which includes a research facility. They're a biomedical tissue company traded on the NASDAQ with some very interesting intellectual property, and we welcome them. Additionally, the most recent announcement was Double Line Bonds, one of the largest fixed asset traders in the U.S. They're taking a contiguous floor, 25,000 square feet. We expect them to be moved in the next 60 days. So we're pretty excited. Block 1 of Heights Union encompasses what we consider regional retail services that really these neighborhoods have been lacking, things that were anticipated by the CRA plan, but including a grocery store, which is a Sprouts Fresh Market, a bank branch, which is Truist Bank, and some other regional support retail. So moving forward, phase 2 of Heights Union will be on Block 4. We anticipate breaking ground on that this year. It'll be an additional 230,000 square feet of creative office, pivoting off the infrastructure that we've installed. And Block 12 will come forward this year as well with phase 2 of the Pearl Apartments. In parallel, we've been, growing our plan, our concept. We'll be before you as City Council soon to discuss the small orange building that's on the other side of Tampa Street and some other things, but more to come on that. So again, today I had a housekeeping matter. We have a community redevelopment area plan, which was written in '08. At the time, the old police department community redevelopment area was basically comprised of the Madison Seafood Plant, the shipyard, the Armature Works facility, and some houses on small, non-conforming lots north of Palm. So we've now completed the assemblage of all the property within the CDD, with the exception of 2 small lots. And we're looking to, I think, conform the text portion of the CRA plan, the kind of aspirational plan for the district, to more of an urban mixed-use vision. So we've submitted to staff what our ideas are. The largest changes are including the ability of y'all sitting as the CRA board to be able to consider funding for cultural improvements, infrastructure, cultural institutions, additionally public art. The plan being more than 15 years old also did not address transit significantly. I think it referenced a bus stop, but obviously with the with the streetcar extension on the city's radar, and microtransit initiatives and other things, having the ability in the plan for yourselves as the CRA board to be able to consider these things as improvements that would be appropriate for the district, we feel is important. We've submitted the revisions to the text portion of the CRA plan, and it is just a text amendment. I would liken the CRA plan itself to kind of the prologue of the comprehensive plan, right? Still, anything that the CRA plan aspires to has to come before you in detail and be voted on. But we feel like it's important to get this vision plan aligned with the true vision of the Heights. So we've submitted that in black line and red line form, and I would like to ask today if y'all would consider it, forwarding it to the Planning Commission to get back their opinion on consistency, and asking staff if they could formally present it to the CAC, and assuming that the neighborhood is in agreement, that they could bring it back to you for consideration.
Councilman Goose.
I was over there yesterday, and I was meeting with the EDC, Mr. Craig Richards and his group, and we just took a tour over there a little bit. And I didn't know that they were responsible for getting a lot of the companies here, Pfizer and a lot of these businesses here. So I'm just grateful that we've got some people that are working to try to bring businesses here, to bring employment here to our citizens. Ms. Van Loan, in reference to Mr. Hardin's request, have you vetted this and your staff looked at this at all, to talk to us about this? I don't think we're ready to make a move on that today, but I speak for myself, just want to get more information on this.
Good morning again, Michelle Van Loan. We look at this from two perspectives. The first and most important is from a process perspective. Mr. Hardin has said that this is a simple text amendment in that it does not expand the boundary. And we do agree it doesn't expand the boundary. But in his edits, he is providing, as he mentioned, additional priorities and goals and visions for the Tampa Heights riverfront. That is his input. And the Community Redevelopment Agency has always listened to all the stakeholders. And your CAC policy defines your stakeholders as your residents, your businesses, and all your property owners and everyone who has a vested interest within the community. And you define the role of the CAC as having that input into the community redevelopment plan. What we have said and responded to Mr. Hardin is that the text edits that he have proposed are not simply to bring it into conformance with, say, changes in the zoning code or other city policies. He's actually adding priorities that the general community should have an opportunity to not just say, yes, he's on the right page, but what are their ideas? What do they want to see to it? And there has been enough changes that we are simply recommended that we follow our community process to update the community redevelopment plan, and that the types of edits he's making and suggesting, and I'm happy to go into any of those, but first and foremost, this is about community inclusive process and us following the same process that we're currently doing in Channel District. If you look at Channel District 8 years ago, we did not have all these residents, and it is our residents and our businesses who are now a major part of that discussion. We will be heading into that, and the same as downtown. And if we update at some point Tampa Heights, where the primary property owner may be the Tampa Housing Authority, but it would still be a community input process and a community plan to update that community plan.
Well, I would agree that the CACs have stake in the game, and we have stakeholders in the game. Everyone needs to be brought to the table for everyone's ideas. I know Mr. Hardin's a great developer, a strategist with buildings, but again, if we have a policy in place at this time, and the policy states that we have to have community input, I would think we need to stick to the policy and make sure that we do have Mr. Hardin's ideas and the other business owners and communities' ideas as well. So I look for more conversation on it. I don't think I can move on this today myself personally, but I think we need to, maybe have more conversation in reference to it.
Councilman Dick Felder?
I didn't know if anybody else had their hand up.
I saw your hand. Do you want to go ahead?
Yep. Mr. Hardin, I respect you tremendously as a visionary. I think that what you and your partner have done up there at Armature is amazing. And I have no qualms whatsoever. Well, I don't think I do. I haven't gone into it in great detail. I trust that the substance of what you're offering is probably ideal for that area because you know it like the back of your hand. My only concern is process, and I think that's what Michelle's speaking to, and with no disrespect to Michelle, I think I'd probably like to hear from Mr. Massey, if he's available, in regard to the legal, side of this, because we don't want to step on our toes in regard to process, Adam, and I think you understand that. Even though you were sort of the the godfather and you know, and taking over the CRA after the bankruptcies and that sort of thing, which is amazing, all that you did. As indicated, at some point, we sort of have to hand over the reins and let the community, whatever community is living there or working there or participating there, you know, have their input. And that's sort of what I'm hearing from Michelle, but I would like to hear from Mr. Massey if that's possible, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Morris Massey, Deputy City Attorney, I'm here. I've advised Mr. Harden previously that our standard process is, and this is consistent with what Michelle has said, is that any proposed amendment to the community redevelopment plan should be presented to the CAC for that CRA area for review, and then for a motion of support before it really comes before you, and then it needs to be presented to you all. And really, any change to the community development plan ultimately has to be adopted as this body sitting as city council. You cannot adopt a change to community development plan sitting as the CRA. So there's a series of steps. The first step is to have the proposed changes to the plan, present it to the CAC for their review and support, then come to you as the CRA for review, and then you would adopt a motion or a resolution forwarding the proposed changes onto the Planning Commission and setting public hearings as sitting as city council to make those changes to the community redevelopment plan. So that's the legal process that's in place.
Any other comments?
Yes,
Councilman
sir.
Maniscalco.
Just real quick to Mr. Harden, you had shown the map and the parcels. I think there were 9 and 10 were the numbers on the map.
Yes, sir.
That's parking right now. I saw a lot of retail. 10, 9A, and 9B. Do you have commitments or leases signed or of interested parties and businesses going in there? Or?
Can I interrupt real quick, Councilman? What we're talking about is changes to the community development plan, but Mr. Harden also has a rezoning petition. Okay. I think that's before you, so I don't think we should get into a lot of detail about what's being proposed to be developed on the property at one point in time.
Take back the question.
We're about amending the community redevelopment plan to change some of the policies and goals in the plan at this juncture.
All right, sounds good. I'll take it back. Thank you.
Yeah, so
He asked that you not answer the question.
No, I understand.
Okay.
If I may, this particular community redevelopment area is, we own there's 4 major property owners, right, and plus the city, so 5. So Stetson, Bush Ross, Richard Gonsmart owns a building in the park, and we own the rest of the property. So the CRA plan text amendment is, again, well, I'm not sure that I agree that the CRA board couldn't consider a cultural institution at this point funding it. The advice that we've gotten from legal and from staff is that we would need to add this language for you to be able to consider it. So it would be unfortunate if there was an opportunity that slipped through our fingers and, we punch ourselves in the face and it ends up in St. Petersburg because we can't execute. So I respectfully would say as well that the EDC had nothing to do with the new vendors or the new jobs coming to the Heights. They did assist in getting the plane landed, but again, this was efforts of the Heights developers and their joint venture partners, the team that we put together. So we submitted this text amendment now, I think, 4 months ago, and we are trying to get it moved off dead center. So I know that as Morris described the process, this was what was discussed in our initial calls, and then subsequently this additional layer of workshopping with a much broader group got inserted into the process. So, our CRA staff member has presented this to the CAC. I'm scheduled to meet with the executive committee and the full group of the Heights neighborhood. As you may recall, the last time we came before the body with a rezoning for the whole project, I brought written support formal written support from all 4 neighborhoods which touch us. So and we've worked with them hand in glove. I took a call last week from the president of Ridgewood, who is super excited about the traffic calming project that's now that we negotiated into the interlocal agreement that's now taking place. So wanted me to come over and look at it. So we do get it. I've spoken with God's March team. They're supportive. I'm sure that I can also bring the written support of Stetson and Bushross here. So again, having a plan, an aspirational concept plan that allows your board to consider the full range of things that are appropriate for a development of this intensity is something that we need to execute on. So if we see that as being a longer workshopping process that's going to drag it into next year, then it seems a little difficult. I think these are words on paper that set a vision, an umbrella, if you will, for what y'all are then able to do. Again, it still comes down to you advising and then turning your hats around as city council and finding something appropriate to do. So I think the request today was that this be pulled together by staff and forwarded over for consistency review with the comprehensive, by the planning group in parallel with additional neighborhood meetings taking place. So, we're certainly here to take some guidance. We're just trying to move the ball.
Councilman Carlson.
Yes, Mr. Hardin, I know we met a long time ago, but it's been years since I've spoken to you. But I know of what you've done by experiencing it personally and by hearing about it through the city and also by others in the community. I want to thank you and your colleagues for the big investment you've made in adding to the cultural entertainment scene, the physical landscape of the city, redeveloping an area that many people had tried to redevelop before, and also recruiting a couple major corporate investments to our area. Through the community, through the arts community, I'm aware of some of the possibilities of what you're talking about there. And I think the difference between a successful real estate project and one that is visually not active is how you connect the people and how the people that are there have a diversity of services to interact with. And I think what you've done, you and your colleagues have done brilliantly is to add to the diversity of resources and amenities there. Some people know of it as a place to eat and get entertained. Some people know it as an office and living space. But in adding the arts, I think it's a big vision. And it's something, all the major developers in town are looking at adding the arts. And we know from places like Dumbo in New York that arts are a major economic engine. In Dumbo, one family bought a whole bunch of warehouse space and they invested in the arts in the center of it, and multi-billion dollars of investment developed around it. You look in St. Pete at the Warehouse Arts District, the arts groups had to buy their land quickly to keep from preventing the gentrification because everybody wants to live and work near the arts. From what I know from the community, the vision you have for the arts is incredibly important. It's going to be one of the most transformative things that can happen in Tampa, and I think we need to do whatever we can to support it. And I don't know, with this text amendment, we can't do anything in the CRA meeting, right? But I just wanted to make that statement. Thank you for what you're doing, and thanks for having a diverse interest and also an interest in the arts.
Anyone else? Mr. Hardin, looking at what you have given us on what you're saying is a simple text amendment, there is a lot of changes in this, and I'm going to say you're at least 35%, maybe a little bit more, in changing, not just a simple text amendment. I have learned while being on council that I trust, but now I'm looking more at trust with verification. The thing you put up on the PowerPoint, the Almo, excuse me, is just the portion in which you have the most direction. But as you had mentioned, there are other entities within this CRA boundary. I would like for you to go through the process. I'm not telling you what to do, but I would feel better if you went through the process, got these changes with the CAC's approval, and then come back to us. Unless somebody would like to make some form of a motion, I thank you for your time today, Mr. Harding.
All right, thank you.
If I may, sir?
Yes, it's up. You're on board.
Okay, I just want to continue a second on this topic. Originally, when Mr. Harding came to us, he had talked to us about amending the CRP text to include just cultural assets so that he could move forward with the proposed development. When he then presented us with text amendments, we received the full red line version that you have now. If there is support by CRA board and we have a text amendment that only adds a sentence or a sentence or two that only addresses cultural assets and that then passes through the CAC and the approval process, we have no objection to that kind of simple text amendment where it's just the concept to help him move forward with this one development.
Councilman Carlson.
Legal, can I make a motion in that? I mean, I don't know what language we would have. And Mr. Hardin, how do you feel about that? Is that better than holding everything off?
Yes, absolutely. I think that we can move on these things in parallel. Again, I would accept, if I understood the chairman's direction, I believe that we can have the CAC's formal approval in the next 30 days, and as well as the HOA or the homeowners group. So, but we're happy to move the cultural asset language separately.
I think legal has.
Yeah, Councilman Carlson, I would ask that as far as any sort of adoption, that we do wait for it to come back from the CAC, but if you'd like to make a motion to encourage Mr. Hardin to take that step, I think that would be appropriate at this time.
Can I ask Councilman Miranda?
Chairman, I appreciate all the conversation from the petitioner, Mr. Hardin, and everything, but I don't know that much about this. You're talking about the CAC, this, no, they know. I don't know anything about it, just what I heard right now. So if I have to vote today, I'm going to vote no. I don't know anything what's going on. No one's addressed me. No one's approached me. So for me to vote for somebody else's ideas and plans that I don't know anything about, it's not Charlie Miranda voting. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. I would say that the provision adding the concept of the arts adds the concept that a full, robust proposal from an organization that would come forward to you and you would be able to consider it then.
All I can tell you is I've been here a few days. And,
yes, sir.
I like to vote the way I see things, and I don't know anything what I see. I'm not against your plan, sir, against anybody else's plan, but until I know, I'm not going to vote for something I'm not appraised of. Thank you very much.
Yes. Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, as I understand it, and legal can interrupt me, but as I understand it, the way the CRA is written, we can't fund the arts in that district. And so this part that we're talking about now is a simple text revision that would just enable us to fund the arts. Isn't that correct? It doesn't mean a specific project, just it would enable us to fund the arts.
Our funding has to be consistent with the plan as it's written, and so in order to update that, it would just have to go through the process of updating the plan. The next step after submitting the suggested amendment to staff and to council, or to the agency, would be then to take it to the CAC to get their recommendation vote.
So I would like to make a motion, Mr. Chair, if I could, that the CRA board would ask the CAC to give their recommendation on a potential text amendment regarding the arts, and then come back to us at the next CRA meeting to report their recommendation.
Motion has been made by Councilman Carlson, seconded by Councilman Vieira. Roll call.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco? Vieira? Cedro?
Yes.
Miranda?
No.
And Goods?
No.
Motion carried with Miranda and Goods voting no.
Thanks for your time today, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Hardin.
Just give me 1 second to load our staff annual report. Our monthly report?
Couple of days. You always come up with the best line, Councilman Miranda.
Couple days.
You always.
Been here a couple days.
Just a couple of days, huh?
If they come out, I don't plan on, I just say them.
Councilman, how many days you think you've been here?
Decades, days.
Don't make me feel old.
Good morning again, Michelle Van Loan. We'll now move to our monthly staff report. If we can pull up the PowerPoint. And you get me once again, Courtney Orr is taking a well-deserved vacation for the past year and a half. She has constantly had to cancel her vacations over and over and over again because of COVID, and she finally got to take her vacation this week, so I couldn't say no. So I'm going to do the best I can this morning on the EBOR report. We do have 2 facade grants that have been approved this past month. One is for the King Corona building that many of you are aware of on East 7th, and they will receive $30,000 to remove all of that stucco and then restore that original brick storefront that the building once enjoyed. The second building further down the street on 7th Avenue, where the Frank De La Grana Law Office is, they are also getting a grant of $29,670 that will provide a new canopy over that balcony that you see in that upper right picture, and then also replacement of the doors and windows. And those canopies used to be on the building to make those balconies much more usable in previous times. So those have been approved through our process and will come to you in October.
Ms. Van Loan,
Yes, sir.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but just for the public's knowledge, that these facade grants are matching grants.
Yes, sir. In most instances, the property owners contribute more than half. We do have a requirement of a 50% match. We average about a 75% of the total investment is by the property owner, and our total investment in most of the projects averages out at only about 25%.
Well, I have heard some people saying the fact that the CRA monies are just given away, and that is not true. These are matching grants. So I just would like for the public to realize how the CRA is spending its money wisely. Thank you, Ms. Van Loan.
And thank you for that clarification. For the PowerPoint. This year we also, on your agenda today, is the last reprogramming of the final funds for the archway and adjacent streetscape project that is happening along 7th. We did receive the bids, and we will be reprogramming those funds so that we can enter into those contracts and get moving with this project. We have just recently gone through the Special Events Co-Sponsorship Grant Review Committee, and we will be moving forward with those sponsorships in the coming year, and we're very excited to start having the reactivation of EBOR as we keep trying to come out of COVID once and for all. And also on your agenda tonight is 5 new CAC members that will be appointed, including Mr. Steve Barbas, Liz Welch, Rich Simmons, and Chip Williams.
Again, Ms. Van Loan, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm going back to the days when I was on the YCDC, the Ybor Development Corporation, way back when Walter A. was president. This project has taken years to come to fruition, and I am glad to see that we're seeing the finish line. Thanks, Ms. Orr. Thanks, Ms. Thrower. And thanks to Corrine for their hard work and due diligence in this. Thank you, Michelle. Charlie Moran.
Can I ask for something? You know, when you come here, Ms. Van Loan, and you bring up the nice photos and they want to change back to the original decorum that was gorgeous, and then they invented stucco, and Ybor City's turned from that to all stucco. And now they're going back to the original thing. It sounds like me changing votes. But anyway, what I'm going to ask is, if I may, and I'll say it at the end of the meeting, if I may, when you see one of these buildings that come up for this, and just the address of 1521 East 7th Avenue and 1710 East 7th Avenue, it tells you what's there now. But I wonder if it'd be too much hard work for anyone to say what was it back in the 40s originally. And I believe this one at 1521 was at Palacio, but I'm not sure. And if I can get that, it'll make, every time you bring about Ybor City, bring back the historical what was there before. And I think that'd be an enhancement to the Ybor City status as it is today.
We sure can.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Maniscalco.
Since that was brought up, where King Corona is at used to be Raul Vega dress store.
Not this.
And there are photos, because I've seen them, so that, that's easy to find. That's a good point, because Councilman Miranda, he knows Ybor City better than all of us. He's seen the changes in Ybor City. But when, as he said, when we go back to what was there before the stucco era and all that, we can see what it was. And I know Delagrana's name was brought up. I think that was a Delagrana travel agency at one point. And Mr. Delagrana's mother was very instrumental in a lot of Ybor City causes and restoration and whatnot. So, these are deep-rooted, long-time vested individuals as well, that have been part of Ybor for generations now. So that's it. Thank you.
Ms. Van Loan?
Can we bring the PowerPoint back up? We also have had, we came to you about December last year asking for this pilot program for enhanced security with TPD during spring break. And as we went through our big festivities that we had in the beginning of 2021 in the Super Bowl, and we had some money left over, and the TPD and Ybor are using that leftover money for the same extension of that program for just a few weeks into the school year to coincide with all the kids coming back to HCC and USF and UT and being in the area, and now also frequenting Ybor on the weekends. And so they will be utilizing the last of those funds again for that enhanced security pilot program. As you can see, the Ybor legend on the right, it was just issued a few weeks ago, and you can see the new announcement of the Gasworks project, the Darrell Shaw project. And we also had the last of our 3 Voices of Ybor videos. This one was about again, keeping the theme, historic district modern businesses. And this was made possible that a partnership between the Ybor CRA and the HCC film students who put these 3 projects together. And it's been a very successful partnership. Lastly, we took the heart of Ybor as an art concept. We started the year with masks and this wonderful campaign, and also now launched a community art contest out for the whole community to participate. During the month of August, we've also replaced and repaired multiple parking signs, as well as our sidewalk and paver repairs. So those improvements are usually ongoing. And lastly, we've been meeting all our contract requirements with the YES team, making sure that we are addressing all the issues with their contract and our improvements in the district. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions for Ybor.
Any questions for Ms. Van Loan? Thank you.
With that, I will, last one, sorry. We have a lot of ribbon cuttings in Ybor, Allure Realty. Hopefully many of you saw all the media hype, and they have a new TV show on Netflix, and we're very excited. And some of us have worked with Joanna in the past, so we're very excited to have her back in Tampa. And we also had the Immigration Law Group, DVH, open their new co-working space at Centro Ybor and the new redesigned Centro Ybor. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. McCray for East Tampa.
Good morning, Cedric McCray, East Tampa CRA Manager.
Good morning.
Okay, first major update is the strategic plan. I know that some of the CRA board members were able to hear Mr. Seckler's comments, and last week during the meeting, we did have our last ride-along on August 13th and visited a few businesses in East Tampa just to talk about facades and what potentially may happen. The pictures that you see there are in Northview Hills and the Columbus Drive corridor as it relates to what could happen and some things that we're discussing during the strategic plan and that came out during some of the walking tours that happened earlier in the year. The CAC did receive a presentation from Mr. Seckler on this past Tuesday, the 7th. A lot of positive comments, and there were some things that we debriefed on the following day, on Wednesday, to discuss as they're rolling into completing the strategic plan. Did have some discussions as it relates to benchmarking and TIF dollars, budgetary items that we could look forward to moving forward in the coming years, and eventually the video will be uploaded to the We Are East Tampa website for residents to view if they were unable to see it during the meeting on Tuesday. Some of the renderings that were shared with the CAC board at Tuesday's meeting. Mr. Seckler actually took comments from the walking tours and tried to create a vision of what some corridors could become in areas of East Tampa within the CRA boundaries. This particular one is on Nebraska Avenue. If you've traveled that thoroughfare, it may look familiar to you. And then the sketch that is to the right of the picture on the left is one that he kind of envisioned and folks felt very positive about. Next, you will see what we've affectionately called the Gator Building because of its orange and blue colors on 22nd and Lake, and that is a building that is in possession of the CRA and the CAC. And if you see the renderings of the sketch to the bottom left and then the watercolor rendering to the right. Sorry. So, and this was shared with the CAC board as well, and a lot of positive comments about what potentially could happen. I guess the vision here is to have somewhat of a smaller scale down version of what you may see at the Armature Works. As it relates to the committees, we are having ongoing meetings almost weekly, and aesthetics and beautification, economic development committees have been very busy as it relates to the overall aesthetics and beautification of some of the thoroughfares and neighborhood entry points. We have concluded the bid process or the RP process for the Youth Leadership and Entrepreneurship Academy. So want to say thank you to Celeste Gibbons Peoples in procurement for assisting us with that effort, and we will be reviewing the applications that have been submitted within the next week. There also was some discussion about exploring pre-development funds for future residential and retail development, so that is something that the Economic Development Committee will be looking into moving forward. The rest of the committees, Health and Education, the HES Committee, as relates to COVID-19 protocols and local healthcare providers and what can be done to assist in residents in East Tampa. Housing Committee had a presentation from Salita's House, gave out a lot of positive information, and had quite a few residents that came out to participate in that. I want to say thank you to Ms. Denise Pate for her efforts in putting that together. We'll have some more additional updates as it relates to the tree trimming grant in the next month. And Public Safety Committee has been covering and having conversations with TPD as it relates to community policing in East Tampa. Some of the notable things that will be coming up next, as it relates to the CAC presentation on this past Tuesday, we did have a candidate forum that I think went very well, and we did have a couple of the CAC board members present to witness and participate in that process. We will have the elections on September 14th. I know it came up at the last meeting a couple of weeks ago as it relates to the online or email ballots. That was approved by the CAC board on this past Tuesday, so we will have ballots that will be emailed out upon request to residents that have attended at least 2 meetings And we will also have in-person voting on the 14th at the times that are listed on the PowerPoint. Everything else is just meeting dates and times that will be coming up as we close out the month of September. And that completes my report.
Councilman Goods.
Mr. McCray, great presentation. I hear a lot from the people in the community who know you well, who trust you, and say that you get back with them right away, that you're out there, you drive around and you get back with them, and I know when I call you, that's what they tell me. And it's a great feeling for the community to feel that they have someone that they know and have been affiliated with. A couple of things. I know on yesterday, folks, we were able to get a kiosk in East Tampa. But I'm going to tell you what I was saddened about, and I'll make it public, that me and Mr. Citro, we were at the downtown kiosk. News media, everybody was there. When we go to East Tampa, we had all the neighborhood association presidents. They were so happy to be there, to get something new and to be able to take a photo with that new machine. And, some of our seniors, they were just elated, but we had no coverage at all that something exciting like that was coming to East Tampa. But I do want to thank you for being there, Mr. McCray. Even though it wasn't a CAC or CRA thing, you were there to show the public that it's all about East Tampa and the residents in that community. And we appreciate you for that.
Thank you, sir.
When you look at the strategic action plan, I don't know if everyone had a briefing, but they did a good job as it relates to some of these ponds, especially that big old pond at 26th Avenue and between 22nd and 24th. I thought it was amazing when you look at another community who had something similar that we have, this big piece of property that is just an eyesore. The Columbus Drive situation, Nebraska. These are some of the ideas I talked to them about and shared with them, and I was glad to see that Pete did look at those ideas that I did share with him. So I'm glad he was able to do that. We left out 29th though, so I don't know if we can kind of revisit that a little bit. That is a hub for the people in that community, 29th Street. So we can kind of look and see what we can do with that. I know we've had that building knocked down and trying to get a few more knocked down. But also, I had a conversation, a meeting with Mr. Richardson and his group yesterday in reference to East Tampa. They were really interested because we had several ride-along tours with that group. And they see a spotlight there, and I see Pete has indicated that on the strategic action plan, which we talked about, and also Carol and I took a drive down that area as well. So I'm hoping, again, we talked about yesterday, getting that sit down with that group and Pete, because they're really interested in seeing how they can put and be able to come in East Tampa. They help out a lot. I think that'll be good. And with Carol and yourself and Michelle. So I hope we get that meeting set up sooner or later so we can really get some of this stuff after approved moving, because they were excited, and I think they talked to you yesterday about being excited to be able to bring some things and help as well. So also the pre-development fund, I think that's going to be huge for that community. I know other places do it. We just don't want to reinvent the wheel. So I'm sure our city attorney, Mr. Bryan back there, I'm giving him a little shout out now so you can kind of start getting that in his mind in reference to we need to start looking at how we can develop that, because I think that is key for a lot of small minority businesses. If you've got some pre-development money, the jump start you get you moving, you can get that back in the end. And I think that'll be able to jumpstart a lot of things in businesses in East Tampa and for the growth of housing. We have a lot of vacant property. I look at some of those things that on 34th Street that we could be able to, some folks, small developers had a little pre-development money, they can jumpstart and get it moving. So I'm hoping that we can get that done sooner than later. I know we're putting a lot on your plate, but I know how you work, and I know we'll get it done. So thank you for all your work, sir.
No, thank you. And as it relates to 29th and Lake, we did have a follow-up meeting on Wednesday after the presentation to the CAC board. And Mr. Seckler and I did have a conversation. So I think before everything is completed, we will have some attention on 29th and Lake.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. McCray.
Thank you.
Good morning, CRA Board. This is Jesus Nino, West Tampa and Drew Park CRA Manager. If we can bring the slides up, please. Thank you very much. Staff is continuing to work very closely with our CRA members and our subcommittees on many projects. One of the more easier and fun ones is a newsletter, so we're working on the next one that will hopefully be completed within the next few weeks. The content is usually decided by the subcommittee. Usually they'll try to highlight a local small business and a local not-for-profit and any other areas of interest they may have. Staff is also working with contract management. We're going to initiate a parking study for the Main Street area. That geographic boundary hasn't exactly been identified just yet by the subcommittees, but we're going to go find a consultant to help us out with that item. Then subcommittee will work with that consultant and we can produce a good parking study for the area. As far as some of the grants that have been recently approved, we do have interest by some of the business owners out in the community. For instance, the Business Enhancement Micro Grant, that will most likely be very popular. We're working with some individuals on that grant. In addition to the Vanilla Shell grant program, we have interest in that one as well. And we haven't really marketed these grants out to the community adequately just yet, but we're going to do that pretty soon. We'll hold some kind of event out in the community to highlight all the grants that we have in place. This one here, we actually now have a temporary clean team for the Main Street area. The map on the top there on the left, for some reason the map got cut off a little bit there, but the map actually extends all the way over to Howard, then all the way to the right to Fremont Avenue. So the clean team is basically, they'll be out there 3 days a week. They'll be picking up any kind of litter in Saucinas Park along the right-of-way, the sidewalk, the city parking lot that's out there, a very small parking lot. And any kind of activity they see that needs to be reported, they'll report it to code enforcement or the police department or myself or whoever in the city needs to know. Also, phase 2 for the alleyway cleanups, that's about to get started within the next week or two. We have interest by a lot of companies to clean up the alleys out in West Tampa, and our goal is to clean up every single alley in West Tampa CRA area.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Dingfelder.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm real excited about this. Definitely needs it. I was trying to go down one of the alleys yesterday in that area, and it was impassable. When you said it goes over to Howard, did you mean it goes to Armenia? Because
the clean team?
The CRA goes to Armenia.
Right now it's a temporary clean team just because we're going to be putting together an RFP for a permanent clean team, but because of funding requirements through procurement, we have to have a temporary team in a smaller geographic boundary. The worst area right now was litter, and items that are being thrown on the street is from Howard and that little boundary that was shown on the map. So that's the test area, and we'll kind of work all the kinks out through that area, and we'll come up with a full RFP for a year-round clean team at a bigger geographic boundary.
Okay, thank you.
Have the slides up, please. As far as the subcommittees in the CAC, we're working very closely with the Parks and Recreation Department, with Sharisha, Brad Suter, and Carla Price to come up with park designs for Saucinas Park, Ray Park, and a few other parks in the area. They actually came to our last CAC and had a wonderful presentation on design concepts to improve those parks. So we're still working through subcommittee with that item, and hopefully the end product is going to be very beautiful, usable, safe parks for the West Tampa community. As far as other activities that are going on, we have concluded our Main Street Corridor study with Randy Gores and Mr. Frank Hall and the Planning Division. Randy is going to be doing a final presentation to the community, a webinar, just on implementation strategies. And our CAC, we're already on that corridor study. We're already starting to implement some of the findings, so we're ahead of the game. Then the final product here for West Tampa is we're pretty excited that we're working with Urban Progress Alliance with their Unity Garden concept. This item is also on another item on your agenda for funding request. Our CAC, they did recommend approval for their project of up to $45,000 to do a community garden. This is in line with our community redevelopment plan, which calls for urban farms to have more healthy food choices out in the community, especially in food insecure areas, which the West Tampa CRA area is kind of classified in certain areas as food insecure. So this item come before you, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but it is located at 2307 West Beach Street. It's a vacant lot. It's going to have to be implemented in full compliance with city policies and ordinances and well permitted. They're going to be working very closely with the community, and that's another perk of this program. It'll get the community to work together and get to know each other and have more eyes out in the street. With that concludes West Tampa. Any questions?
Any questions for the West Tampa CAC, excuse me?
No, if I may.
Sure.
I just want
Councilman
to
Moran.
give a compliment. I see some of the changes as I drive north on Howard, and the one you showed there used to be a church. Now it's an architect building by Ray Park, just north of Ray Park. The transformation of that building is really makes your eyes feel real nice and settling. It's wonderful work that whoever did it. I think they got the architecture firm there now. And it just, see some other buildings that are getting improved, again on Main Street and Howard, little restaurants starting there and things of that nature. And compliments to you on that, and then I'll speak on the others as I see and I drive by. You're doing Drew Park. Who's doing Drew Park?
Yes, sir.
Can I ask a question before it starts on Drew Park, sir? I just want to ask one thing, just out of curiosity. I've seen that transformation on Drew Park there on the center that's coming up, the new stadium center. However, I'm not opposed to grants, but this is a building that just came up. So how can a building that wasn't there get a grant to update something that wasn't there? In other words, it's not a historical building. It's not a building that somebody's had for years and that they need an uplift to make it keep up with the transformation of the new era that we're in. But this building here, it used to be, in fact, I think there used to be the Knights Inn a long time ago, and there was a highlight player named Ronaldo, and one day he tells me that Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons are going to his place, and I thought he was nuts. And I'd be hooped and hollered if it wasn't true. So right there on Del Mabry, he brought in Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. And my memory serves me correct. But this is a brand new building, and we're asking now for a facade of something that wasn't even completed. It's completed now, and it's got rentals now. But why are we subsidizing a building that was never there?
I think this was a grant before my time that was approved for the structure there. I think most of the structure was there. It was just renovated, and they finally completed their improvements, and it was paid out.
Is that the same building? Maybe I'm talking about another building, because there was a building that was completely knocked out. It used to be where there was an old motel, and it was moved to the back, and then it was vacant. At one time, they built these quad things, and I'm not sure if it's this or not, but it certainly looks like it.
This used to be a restaurant. It used to have like a big bull or cows out in the front when you used to drive by, and they just mostly renovated the building.
Sam Seltzer. Then the cow left.
Right.
I understand. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Go back to the slides, please. I know I keep bringing this up, but the CAC, we're starting to work with Parks and Recreation to do a phase 2 for the linear park there, and hopefully we start getting progress fairly quickly with the Parks and Rec, and we can have a good design to have an active park at that area there at the linear. It's actually a right-of-way, but the center median, it's a passive park currently, and we'll transform it over to a active park. We're starting to work very closely with mobility to try to identify projects that we can start implementing our strategic action plan, for instance, sidewalk connectivity. and any other intersection improvements or any safety improvements. We're actually trying to schedule a walking tour of the area with mobility and some of the CAC members that'll be advertised to the public, similar to how East Tampa did it with their SAP. So hopefully that walking tour is successful, and Hillsborough Community College students are starting to get involved as well with the CAC. So that's promising. Those young individuals have a lot of interesting ideas.
Would you please inform those HCC students that the campus is in Drew Park, not West Tampa? I had a conversation with a few of them the other day, and they kept referring to it as West Tampa.
Oh, they're being educated by us, and they're educating us as well.
Mr. Chairman, us Hispanics, our most western boundary is Clearwater. So we go everywhere.
Okay, please continue.
Yes, sir. And then the next item is the item we just discussed. I'm closing out the facade grant for that area there on Dale Mabry. And as far as we're starting to continue to work with other individuals within Drew Park, some of the business owners, to see if we can help them out with some facade grants and some fence grants. And we're just trying to get them involved in general with the CAC. We do have 2 open seats on the CAC. We actually have 3, but one of them will be filled tonight by Hillsborough Community College, and the other are at-large individuals. Hopefully we can find individuals to fill those seats. With that, that concludes my presentation for Drew Park.
Any comments or questions? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and CRA board members. I'd like to continue and bring this on home with updates on the downtown CRA activities. As you all know, we have CAC approved support of the Straz Center funding, and as you had heard, the continuance will be hearing that agreement in October. Also, the staff will begin working on the Tampa Museum of Art funding agreement, which will have similar terms for the $12.5 million that will begin in fiscal year 24 for public realm improvements. And also, Tampa Convention Center received $16 million in CRA support. You saw the construction contract as well as the bonds at your last council meeting on August 26th. September 1st, the Board of County Commissioners confirmed the match to that 32, it's actually 37 million costs for the total convention center renovations. So we are excited to see those beginning around the end of October, and we'll see a lot of work beginning on the convention center. Some indirect CRA activities. Water Street development, of course, is moving very fast at this point in time. They have confirmed ReliaQuest has their headquarters stationed in the newest office building, 1001. They have the top 6 floors in that office space. Ardent Mills site, that is moving forward with a preliminary plat that's been submitted to our staff, to the city staff rather, and that will be part of phase 3B of the Water Street development. And we're excited to see how those lots will lay out. That will be coming to you soon. And last but not least, Publix Greenwise is open to the public. That is located in the first floor retail space at the Heron Residential Towers, and that adds another option for groceries and fresh produce to the downtown residential residents. In Channel District, just continuing on with
Excuse me 1 second, Councilman Carlson.
Can I just ask a question and comment? You mentioned this at the beginning, the CAC supported the Straz Center investment. Was there any pushback? Was it unanimous support? Was it enthusiastic support? How did it go?
I can say that it was a difficult discussion because it is such a large amount of money. However, there were several meetings where we had to discuss the financial impact to the downtown planning budget. And after a couple of meetings, even a special planning budget meeting, there was unanimous support by the downtown CAC.
And how long have you all been discussing it at the CAC?
It's been throughout the summer. The STRAS did present initially in, I believe it was January or February, and we could provide those minutes, the excerpt of the minutes for you all to consider before your October meeting if you'd like.
Great, and you said that the investment in the total investment in the convention center is $37 million. Did I hear that right?
Yes. The 16 million is being matched by CRA funds, and an additional 16 million is being matched by the county. But I think because there are some interest costs, that total does come out to about 37 million. So
yeah, I just wanted to point out that the convention center obviously is an economic engine. So is the STRAS Center.
Yes.
So we can talk about that in a moment. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Continuing on into Channel District, the Channel Side Drive construction continues. There isn't much of a change from the last month since we just had our meeting a few weeks ago. However, that construction does continue, and we are excited to see landscaping improvements and public realm enhancements continue. The phase 3 is moving right along. That's really where the majority of the focus of work is happening between Whiting Street and the roundabout on Channel Side Drive. We continue to pursue the design underway for 11th Street, Twiggs Street, and Cumberland Avenue, and that is similar improvements such as infrastructure, sidewalk, and landscape improvements in the district.
Councilman Goods.
Yes.
I received a couple of calls. I think Channel Side had a CAC meeting last night
Yes.
in reference to the dog park or some building or something like that.
I'm not sure specifically.
I got a call about a discussion about a purchase of a building for the dog park, and it's too expensive. We don't know if we're going to do it. I mean, I got a couple. Can you think about that?
Yes, that's actually on my next slide.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Jumped ahead of me. Sorry about that.
Yes, so the real estate acquisitions, the CAC approved, and this board also approved reprogramming approximately $8 million to pursue land purchase negotiations. And we are still in development on those negotiations. There are 2 properties that we're specifically pursuing, and because those aren't finalized, we don't necessarily have all of the details worked out, but there is one in particular that you may be referencing. This property is directly adjacent to the existing Madison Street Park, and we are discussing that possibility. There is concerns about the terms of what that contract could be. So if there is an update that you'd like to receive on that, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions. But negotiations are still under development, and that was the update that the CAC received.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. The CRP SAP update, that's Community Redevelopment Plan and Strategic Action Plan update. We are having our last public engagement workshop on September 16th. That will be at the Florida Aquarium. And we're very excited to reveal some of the preliminary goals for the CRP that shows how far the Channel District has come in accomplishing what the redevelopment area has done so far and what it still needs to work on as far as its goals. And then that strategic action plan will be built upon that final public engagement workshop. So we're excited to wrap that up and present some preliminary documents to this board and to the CAC very soon. And indirect CRA activities, the Port Tampa Bay and Army Corps of Engineers are going to initiate a study into potential improvements to port properties. This includes just a small piece of what the port owns within Channel District, but of course all port properties, which surely encompasses a lot more than just the Channel District. Any questions on Channel District?
Comments or questions? Thank you.
Certainly. And as you heard earlier, an update from Mr. Adam Hardin with Soho Capital. We are considering the update. Now we will be reviewing the text amendment to the Community Redevelopment Plan, and with that, also consideration for an amendment to the development agreement. These are under review at a staff level with legal counsel, and we will be bringing those back to CRA Board and CAC in the very near future. Some indirect CRA activities. We've just heard that Sprouts Farmers Market has confirmed its opening in October, specifically October 27th, which is very exciting for the neighborhood. We're certainly happy to see grocery options being available to our residents in the communities. And also a shout out to our mobility department, who recently completed their Heights Mobility Study, which are showing new crosswalk improvements coming to the neighborhoods. These are technically outside of the CRA boundary, but they are certainly needed, as we've heard from our residents from the different neighborhood associations, and very much needed. So we are happy to hear about that. Any questions on Tampa Heights Riverfront?
Comments or questions? Thank you.
And last but not least, last month I gave an update on Central Park CRA. This is indirect activities at this time. The Ybor South, or Darrell Shaw's redevelopment in Central Park, has been submitted for its first phase of rezoning. I did confirm the first hearing is November 18th, which means that the second hearing will be in December. And as the CRA board had requested to hear an update on how this project will encompass several CRA boundaries and what exactly it may entail, we have to wait for that zoning process to be completed. So we may expect an update to come to you all in January, just to allow for that zoning process to be completed.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Dingfelder.
So I know we can't get into the details and based upon legal opinion, and that's fine. But I am curious about the boundaries. So looking at these various W, C, E on the grid there, which part of this is in Ybor? Is any part of it in the Central Park, et cetera?
Yes, and we actually have a pretty good diagram. I can ensure that that is included in the monthly update next month, and I can email that to you all this afternoon, actually. It does delineate which sections of this plan are in which CRA boundary, but everything that's in the W is in Central Park. C1, E1, I believe down to E3 and E5 are in Ybor. I believe E4 and E7 are outside of CRA boundaries. And then C2 down to C6 and C5, those are in downtown.
And not Channel Side?
Nothing is in Channel District.
So that's really exciting, especially for Central Park, because the TIF revenues of Central Park, because some of it, I guess so much of it is public, public type housing, have been, very small, but all those W development will be a real shot in the arm for Central Park.
Yes, it is a great opportunity to certainly add to the Central Park redevelopment area.
Especially from the private sector.
Yes.
Thank you.
Certainly. And last but not least, this is an update and a request for a motion, if I may. If you all recall, you had approved the Cultural Assets COVID-19 Retrofit Grant Program in the Downtown and Channel District CRAs. And we've received a few updates from our grant recipients that due to the current state of construction, they've had some significant delays in receiving materials and equipment, and their construction contractors have been unable to complete the projects on time, which would be to complete the project by September 30th. So in our program requirements, it indicated that the CRA manager would have the ability to extend their grant within up to 6 months, showing that they had a reasonable delay or reason for having a 6-month extension. However, their grant agreement did not include such clause. We believe this was just an oversight. It was not for any specific reason. So we're requesting today that the CRA board provide a motion that allows the CRA manager to grant the applicant an extension beyond the 6 months for reasonable delays beyond the control of the applicant.
I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Goode, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Roll call vote, please.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco? Yes. Vieira? Yes. Citro?
Yes.
Miranda? Yes. Dingfelder?
Yes.
And Goods?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you very much. This concludes the staff's monthly report, unless there's any other questions for me.
Any comments, any questions? Thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
Good morning again, Michelle Van Loan, and if you're all ready, we're happy to continue with the rest of our agenda. Item number 4 is our CRA services agreement between the city and the CRA board to provide staffing services for FY22 to the CRA board. The only change from previous years is that we added a clause that in September of next year, we will be able to quote unquote level set our staffing costs. In previous years, all of our agreements strictly look at what our costs are expected to be and planned at the beginning of year, and all of that money is transferred each month to the general fund. If we have vacancies, then that money is still just given to the general fund. If we have something like Ed Johnson's retirement that we had in December and there was a payout because of vacation time and sick leave that was not anticipated in the budget, then the general fund just ends up having to pick up those costs. So we have worked out with the budget office whereby each September we will assess the actual costs and adjust that last payment in the month of September so that the annual year of actual costs are charged to the CRA. And otherwise, the increase in costs over last year, as I mentioned in last year's budget, we did start the trend whereby all CRA employees are funded 100% by the CRA. Last year, all but 3 positions did. This year, those last 3 positions will now be fully funded. And as reflected in our discussions over the past several months, there are 3 new FTEs in the budget, which did increase that amount. And I'm happy to take any questions on the agreement.
Questions or comments?
Mr. Alone,
Hang on one second.
I'm
Councilman
sorry.
Carlson.
I can make a motion about this later if you want, Ms. Van Loan, but I mentioned to you a couple days ago, I've had some questions from the public over the last few years about the budget for staffing, and I think a lot of the change in budget is related to what you just said, which is that we've brought the staff in-house, and so they're not partially working for the city, now they're working for the CRA. But would it be possible, maybe in the next meeting or meeting after, that you could, in a short presentation, just tell the public, show us, but to the purpose of telling the public kind of what the org chart is, who's doing what, and how it's staffed, just so everybody can know?
Yes, we sure can.
Councilman Goods.
That's what I was going to say. Mr. Carlson beat me to the punch. That way we can know exactly who's working for who. And with those 3 additional positions, we can know what they actually are and people can see what they are. So thank you, Mr. Carlson, for that.
Any other comments, questions?
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Vieira, seconded by Councilman Goods. Roll call vote.
Maniscalco. Vieira.
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Dingfelder.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
And Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Item number 5 is adoption of our FY20 annual activity report. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Comments, questions?
So move.
Motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Vieira. Roll call vote.
Vieira. Citro.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Dingfelder.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Maniscalco. And Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Item number 6 is for the West Tampa CRA. We have an opportunity to buy a parcel of land on Main Street that is right across the street from Bay Cannon Brewery. It has been the site of some controversial behavior over the years and some citizen and business concerns at that location. And we had approached the property owner earlier in the year with an offer. They were not interested. They came back to us last month and said, hey, if you're still interested, we'd be happy to buy it. And the CAC jumped on it. So we're requesting $200,000 to reprogram for the purchase of that property. It's also known as Joe Redner Park. Again, it is that open lot that is on Main Street right across from Bay Cannon Brewery.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Yeah. What's that?
Yes. Motion's been made by Councilman Goods, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Hang on.
No, I just want to know the kind of behavior it was, because I think I learned something today. What was that?
It's been a known site
No,
of
what's the name of the
weekend
word?
festivities.
What kind of festivities?
Weekend festivities?
Weekend. You really, I tell you what, you ought to go to drama class, because what you're doing here now, these wordings are really hitting me in the heart. Thank you very much, so.
Where were we at? Motion made by Councilman Goods, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote, please.
Citro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco, Viera, and Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Item number 7 is your favorite topic of the redesign of the access at Channelside Drive at the port. We had approved the 1.6 million. This is for the design contract and our portion of the stormwater fees. It is part of included in that 1.6 million. The port has already contracted with HDR and they have already designed their half of the project, and we will save money and get it done much more quickly by also utilizing HDR. So this agreement allows us to enter into that joint contract with HDR and also for the stormwater fees.
Move the resolution.
Second.
A motion has been made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilor Goods. Roll call vote.
Miranda,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco, Viera, Citro,
Yes.
and Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
For item number 8, again, West Tampa, we had a request for a grant to help support a community garden on Beach Street, which is just behind a property on Howard. I do have the Urban Progress Alliance, who is going to be building and running this community garden here. I have Miss Brenda Allen, who is the president of Urban Progress Alliance, and both Mr. Andre Hill Jr. and Sr., who would just like to say a few words about their project and thank you for the grant.
Good morning, Council. We want to give a special thanks to everyone who supported this project. We want to guarantee that this is going to be a excellent and effective project for the West Tampa community and surrounding communities as well. I'm not going to hog the mic this morning. I'm going to let the rest of my team speak as well.
Good morning. I'm Brenda Allen, President of the Urban Progress Alliance. I'd like to thank the council for awarding us the grant. We will do an exceptional job. The Urban Progress Alliance's motto is, our greatest asset is our integrity, and we will move forward with much success and much love given to the West Tampa area. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, Councilman. It's been a long haul. You know how long I've been coming down here. So finally we're getting something on the road, and we're going to show this investment to be an equitable investment to the city of Tampa.
We need your name so we can say that you're a nice guy.
So I'm Andre Hill Sr.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Dingfelder.
So when I saw this on the agenda, I didn't know it was coming, but I'm really excited about it. I'm a lifetime vegetable gardener. I think my mother started me vegetable gardening when I was like a young teenager, and you know, it's just wonderful for the community that you guys are doing this. I was over at the Meacham Garden over there at Central Park and recently, and I was just amazed at, you know, the size and magnitude of what they're taking on over there. Regardless of how big yours is, I'm really excited. I look forward to coming over and helping y'all out on a volunteer day. So keep us posted.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Councilman Miranda.
I'm a vegetable eater, and I really appreciate all you vegetable growers. But yesterday I was at the house just watching Channel 3, but I forgot which one, 1, 2, 3, or 4. There's so many channels now. And so it happened that I was watching something about parks. And it go back to Central Park in New York, what it was. It was a dump. And how they came back and they redid it and they worked on it, that piece of land that was vacant. And some parks in Philadelphia, some parks in Chicago, and it talked about areas that were blighted at one time and how did they do it and how did they solve the problems. And it started with little parks like this in the neighborhood that people would come together and they knew who they were in the neighborhood, but they never spoke to each other because everybody was busy. And when they came to the garden, they started talking to each other, and it became a different neighborhood in a very short period of time. Everybody knew everybody by name, and you've heard me say many times that I live in a neighborhood, but don't ask me my neighbors' names, because everybody's inside in a TV room with air conditioning watching something, and you don't know who you live next to. You know the car if they're home, but you don't know the people by name, and that's a shame. And this is the start of something that with communication, eye contact, and conversation, you can help one another. Thank you very much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, I just want to say these are really important community neighborhood amenities in successful neighborhoods all over the world. And I just want to thank you. They can't happen without folks like you stepping up to do this. So thank you, and we wish you good success.
Thank you as well.
Any other comments, questions? I'll end it with this. We have been talking about this for a long, long time. And I've always said that CRAs are the purest form of democracy. It starts from the bottom and works its way up. Thank you for your thoughts, your ideas. Thank you for helping to feed the community, and thank you for what's doing right in the community. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Vieira. Roll call vote.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Vieira? Yes. Cedro?
Yes.
And Miranda?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Congratulations to y'all.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much,
Thank you very
Councilman.
much. Bye-bye.
Item number 9 is continued from last month. This is at the Emily Arena, and I left you photos. The Emily Arena is concerned about the, as events let out, the public tends to cross on the east side of their property over the railroad tracks for the streetcar, and have great concerns as they watch these throngs of people through this whole area just crossing in front of the streetcar. And with so many people getting on and off the streetcar and utilizing the streetcar, it's just such a potential. They have been working with TPD and our mobility folks, and they have recommended certain changes in our public realm, the area right outside of the arena at that northeast corner. And so we are partnering with them to help fund some of those improvements, which would include planters and benches that would help keep the people and direct the people north towards the actual intersection and block them from crossing the streets. This request is for the programming so that Emily Arena knows that they can move forward with all of their zoning and permitting, and we will come back at the October meeting for the actual agreement.
Comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Vieira, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Vieira? Cedro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
And Goods?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Item number 10 is the reprogramming I referenced earlier for Ybor, now that they have received all of the bids and are ready to move forward with contracts on their 7th Avenue Archlight and streetscaping program. So this is the last of the funding, and then we'll get going.
Motion made by Councilman Good, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Roll call vote.
Maniscalco? Vieira? Cedro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
And Goods?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Item number 11 is a reprogramming in East Tampa. A couple of years ago, $400,000 was placed in a line item for gateway improvements. That has not been designed or defined yet, and due to some of the public right-of-way at the ideal locations not being owned by the city of Tampa under our jurisdiction, and our heavy focus right now with the community and with the CRA board on affordable housing and key redevelopment areas, the CAC has voted and is requesting to reprogram that $400,000 into the land assemblage line item so that we may pursue residential properties for affordable housing and infill affordable housing, or any commercial opportunities that can come up for redevelopment.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Roll call vote.
Goods?
Yes.
Maniscalco? Carlson?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Citro?
Yes.
And Viera. Motion carried unanimously.
Item number 12 is your slate of candidates for EBOR. There are 5 openings, and you do have 5 candidates, as we mentioned earlier. Once these appointments are made, we will only have 1 vacancy, but it is a designation for an ex officio position.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Goods?
Yes.
Viera? Maniscalco? Carlson?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Miranda? And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Item number 13, again, heading back to West Tampa. We've been very proud in 2021 of everything that West Tampa and the CAC and their subcommittees have worked to achieve over the past several years. There has been a lot of activity on the planning side, but we have not yet been at a point where we've been ready to spend the dollars, implement the programs, including grants to assist projects like the Urban Progress Alliance Farm. Community garden. So we're very excited with the number of programs we've been able to roll out in this calendar year in FY21. And so number 13 is an upstairs residential conversion grant program. It is a matching 50-50 grant. And what this is for on some of our commercial corridors especially, we have these older 2-story buildings or 3-story buildings where the first floor is retail, and our community mixed use allows for that nice mix. And so we are assisting if any of these property owners would like to convert upstairs spaces into residential units. We will contribute up to $7,000 per unit, up to 4 units per property. And we will then be requesting $100,000 being reprogrammed to fund that grant.
Councilman Miranda.
So if I hear what you're saying, Ms. Van Loan, is that you got $28,000 per building, $7,000 per unit, times you're only going to do then about 3.5 units?
To start with.
Yeah, to
Well,
start with.
not everyone will have 4 units.
Right, I understand that. And let me ask this. We're sitting today as a CRA, and tomorrow, tonight will be the city council. What I'm looking at is I'm for the program. However, what happens when you have 4 units upstairs? Do you have enough parking? You're going to have 4 parking spaces? I'm going back to the city council days that I have to think about parking.
Within the program guide, for any of our grant programs, they are always required to meet all zoning and building requirements. So if they do not, they have to go through your process for any waivers. We do not confer any special properties or permissions or authorities by virtue of receiving our grant.
So then you have to apply, and if they're going to be residential units, you have to go and get your permit for apartments or rental certificate, I assume, right?
Yes, sir.
And you have to follow all the guidelines. All right, thank you.
It's a great question, Mr. Moreno.
Thank you. I move for approval.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Dingfelder. Roll call vote.
Viera? Yes. Citro?
Yes.
Goods?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
And Maniscalco?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
I'm going to skip ahead for 1 second to item 15. It is also a West Tampa grant. It is also the residential grant. It is for exterior and roofs improvements, and you have the guide in your backup. It does include interior improvements if there has been damage as a direct result of an exterior improvement. The prime example, and the one we expect most, is again if you have a leaky roof and it has caused interior issues of water damage to flooring or drywall, we will also include those improvements within the grant. Each grant is up to $25,000, and we are asking for $300,000 to reprogram at this time for that program. and it is a matching grant based on your average median income, so it is a sliding scale. For applicants who are at the lower end of the AMI scale, we do have an in-kind service whereby they can perform so many hours of community service within the West Tampa area and then receive credit against their portion of a match. And again, it's a small portion for the residential unit.
Councilman Miranda.
Thank you very much, Ms. Van Loan. Again, on page 2 of your document, that's what you're talking about, the very low end at 50%, which is $25,850, or the extremely low end for one person at $15,550. Am I correct? And it goes on to say other between one person and 8 persons. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, sir. There are a couple of charts. One is how you qualify as AMI,
Right.
and then there's a second chart that says if you're within each of these AMI categories, your match would be $750 or $1,500, but within the lower end categories, you can get credit and have that match reduced.
I understand.
Yep. Okay.
I move it, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Roll call vote.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Goose?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera? Citro?
Yes.
And Miranda?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Item number 14
Ms.
is...
Van Loan?
Yes, sir.
I hate to jump in, and board members, per the request of our city clerk, we're going to take a 5-minute recess.
I want to thank the clerk.
Miranda?
Here.
Goose?
Here.
Dingfelder?
Here.
Maniscalco?
Here.
Viera? Carlson? And Citro?
Here.
We have a physical
Start
quorum.
the recording again. Okay, Ms. Van Loan.
Returning to item number 14, this is the actual reprogramming of the funds in West Tampa to fund the $100,000 for the upstairs residential conversion grant and $300,000 for the single-family residential exterior roof grant.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, second by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera? Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
And Goose?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Item number 16 is a CAC appointment in the Drew Park CAC. This is for the ex officio for HCC of Dr. Paige Niehaus.
So move.
We have a motion made by Councilman Miranda, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. Roll call vote.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera? Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
And Goose?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
And lastly, we have our request for the FY22 annual budget. We have been very blessed over the past few years to have both Susan Gobble as our fiscal officer and Morris Massey as our CRA attorney. I've been working for the CRAs since 2007, and many of the documents and formats and information that we've been providing year after year has been the same as we presented in 07. And with Susan Gobble joining our team and Morris Massey, we have had partners that, I don't want to say only for the first time, but have thrown themselves into truly analyzing and assessing what we should be doing and really delving into our processes and documents to make sure that we are in compliance and handling things the way we should, and that we're updating our information as needed. And with that this year, Mr. Massey really looked at how our budget process should be working for our CRA budget. And generally, we have always adopted our budget in October after the City of Tampa budget was approved in September. And in the ideal situation or recommended situation, we should, as the CRA board and the CRA, adopt our budget, which is then also incorporated in part of the City of Tampa budget, because if you adopt your budget afterwards and you make changes, the city has also adopted that same budget. So we've been trying to adjust this year to new procedures and a much shorter production timeline. And through this process, both Susan and Morris and I have been working on new changes we will institute for the following year as we move forward. And so we are asking for the FY22 budget to be adopted. It has been posted on the CRA board website. The revenues have been included in the city budget and will be part of the city hearings and the advertisement, as all of our dollars and revenues and expenditures are also included in the city budget. The actual CRA, individual CRA district dollars and expenditures are the exact same as what we presented on in August, both in the PowerPoint and the documentation that we loaded into SIRE and presented. With that, before I go on into the budget itself, I just want to make sure we're okay heading in this process and suggested approval manner.
Is there any comments or questions?
You survived again.
So I did go over each of the individual CRA budgets at the PowerPoint presentation. A couple of things I just wanted to reiterate again. We had overall a 13% increase in the total CRA budget. We went from 39.4 to 45.2.5. And with that, we saw the greatest growth in Central Park, Tampa Heights, East Tampa, and West Tampa. And in Central Park and Tampa Heights, it's obvious, we saw earlier all of that development, all of those properties and private sector property and development that is now coming online and joining the tax rolls. In Central Park, we are now seeing that mix that Tampa Housing Authority is developing, along with the retail and some redevelopment along the Nebraska corridor, that are also adding to our property tax values there. East Tampa and West Tampa experienced a 29% and 28% increase this past year, again showing the strong markets that we are seeing both in the residential and the commercial markets. On page 63 of the budget, in response to comments earlier, there is our org chart that includes the 3 new positions, and again I'll do a mini formal presentation on that at the next CRA board meeting. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions about the budget.
Comments, questions?
Move to approve.
Second. I have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. Roll call vote.
Booth,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Brian, we don't have to read any fancy language or anything, just moving a resolution?
Councilman Dingfelder, no, we don't have to read anything. We'll just be moving the resolution.
I vote yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
and Viera. Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, Chair and CRA board members. That concludes our staff requests and approvals.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Van Loan. Okay, we have reports and new business. Let's start with Councilman Vieira. Councilman Maniscalco.
Nothing, sir.
Councilman Carlson.
No, nothing, sir.
Councilman Dingfelder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's been a little bit of concern in regard to, and we've spoken about this in various contexts at City Council as well as the CRA, in regard to our dedication to ensuring that the fire department has the money to build a new fire station downtown. And I just wanted to say, and maybe chat with the CRA board about this. I know I, for one, and I'm sure I would speak for hopefully everybody here, that we all support the idea of a new fire station downtown, because apparently it's needed. So then the question is where and how much? Joe, you've spoken to this. Louis spoken to this at length. I think all of us have. So the question becomes where and how much. And I know Fire Chief is working on this. John Bennett's working on this. But I just wanted to speak to the money side of this. When Ms. Van Loan laid out the long-term 5-year plan for the downtown CRA, that included, and I can forward a copy of it to you because I just looked at it a minute ago, that included $15 million of money that really wasn't expressly spoken for. And I think it was in years 3 and 4 as we move out. And that timing might work out, because if we don't have a plan and a location, 3 or 4 years might be the right timing. But anyway, so there's $15 million in the downtown, in the future downtown CRA that would be needed for that. Now, Mr. Massey has indicated in the past, and I don't want to speak for him, and he can jump in if he needs to. He's indicated that the CRA might not be the place to look for money for vertical construction. Is that right, Brian? But the CRA sometimes can be looked for money for land acquisition for these types of projects. Not really sure why we split that hair, but I've heard Mr. Massey say that in the past. So anyway, a long-winded way of saying I am totally 100% in favor if the CRA can jump in and contribute toward us finding a location, land acquisition, even vertical if possible. The CRA could help fund that. And I just want to commit myself, and if anybody wants to do it, me to do it as a motion, I'd be glad to.
Ms. Dingfelder.
But anyway, so I just thought I'd bring that up. It sort of seems to be floating around out there, and I think it's really, really important. Yes, sir.
Councilman Goose, you want to respond to that?
Would that be covering, if we say that, some kind of midpoint for Channel Side and downtown? We're just saying it's merely for downtown.
Well, I'm speaking in terms of funding. So, I think, ideally it would be a location either in Channel Side or downtown that could cover, they're not very far apart, that could cover both areas adequately. I don't necessarily have a location in mind at all, but if it's in downtown, then downtown would probably have to fund it. If it's in Channel Side, then Channel Side would have to fund it. I'm not sure if you could split that baby. That's probably another legal question.
I see Ms. Van Loon still there.
Any other comments or questions to this? Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, as this issue came up yesterday, I had a long conversation with Ms. Van Loon also, and I think it sounds like the CRAs are very limited as to what we can do even with physical infrastructure, and Morris is getting on. But in particular, you remember Councilmember Vieira asked the city to put together a public safety plan, so just like the mayor's doing with mobility and parks, so that we can be fair to the whole city and figure out where the needs are throughout the city. And there are needs in all different parts of the city, including South Tampa. If you're south of Gandy and the one station that mostly covers people with heart attacks, if they're out, there's a long ride to get there. And so I think with the process that Ms. Vieira has put in place, we need to trust the experts at fire safety, fire rescue, to come back and tell us, where the main priorities are. And if the biggest priority is downtown, they not only need infrastructure, even if we could build the building, the other thing they need is vehicles. In these stations, we need ambulances or rescue vehicles. And if we just had those, we would be so much better off. And then we also need people and training and other kinds of programs. And CRA can't pay for any of that. And so if we're looking to fund fire rescue, what I would recommend is that we look at putting at least a partial cap on the downtown and Channel District CRAs. We'll be able to do that within the next few months as the strategic action plans come forward. But then we could put that money, we could negotiate with the mayor's office. That money would go back into the general fund, but we could negotiate with the mayor's office to set up a specific dedicated fund, the equivalent or in lieu of budget, that could fund fire safety and fire rescue, and we could fund all the important things they need, not just do it on a ad hoc piecemeal basis, because it really is an issue for everyone. If somebody happens to live in a part of the city, but they're driving through another part of the city and they have a heart attack or an accident, we need coverage throughout the city, and we need to do it strategically, as has been proposed by Mr. Vieira. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
If I may.
Please,
thank you. Yeah,
and
yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, whatever legal method that we can use to fund public safety, particularly given what I believe to be a critical crisis throughout all of our city. We've dealt early on with East Tampa and North Tampa. We're talking about Channel Side. We're talking about New Tampa. West Tampa, for example. All of the workforce housing that continues to go up, then that will go up there. that's going to create a corresponding crunch and a need for more public safety responses. As Councilman Carlson said, south of Gandy continue to have significant growth. With that growth comes more need. So, whatever legal, equitable solution we can find to fund that is certainly something that I'm willing to look at. That includes CRA funds, whether it's for purchasing property or whatever it is, whatever means we can go to that end, I strongly support. I've strongly urged use of the federal dollars, which we're utilizing some of those in this year's budget for some pivotal investments that we need in the area. But I certainly think that we should explore that, and whoever wants to make that motion, Councilman Dingfelder, Goods, whoever on this particular side, Goods, it's your Councilman Goods, your district, Councilman Dingfelder, citywide, whatever. I think that's well taken. So thank you.
Councilman Miranda.
Yeah, I understand what the thing is. We got to make sure that everything we do, when all this started many, many years ago, there was very little to talk about in the CRA because there was little happening. All of a sudden, it became a relocation area. All of a sudden became one of the best areas in this country to move to, one of the fastest growing areas. I think at one time we were second to somewhere in Nevada. I forget which city it was. And now we were just named the #1 area in the country for startup and technology system. That's what I saw on television the other day. So I think Miami was second, beating New York and every city in California and so forth and so on. So we have this money that we started with the CRA when it started having some ability to create the fund, and everything started coming together. What we came together so quickly and so fast, and that it's not that you look at one area and say you need a fire station. You better look at all of them, because you're going to maybe need more than what you think. The area is growing. When you look at a lot, it used to be 10 or 15,000, 25 at tops. And the areas of West Tampa, East Tampa, so forth, now the same lots, 175 to 200,000. I see lots going in West Tampa and in the Armory of, used to be the Army, now it's a, which one?
JCC.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I didn't want it. It's the neighborhood I'm talking about.
Army Gardens.
Army Gardens, and I'm sorry I had a little lapse there of the name Armory. Army, when you talk about Army, it says I didn't want to join either. I was going to volunteer, and they didn't want me. But what happened there is that these things happen, and it happens so quickly. It's like saying, I want to have my first child, and all of a sudden you deliver triplets, and you had more than one problem. You got 3 now that you got to maintain, and it's a wonderful thing to have children, just as a wonderful thing to have growth. Without growth, you're dying, and so these things happen, and we've got to be faced with them. So like Mr. Vieira first started with a motion a couple of years back for the assessment of what the need is. Not today, but tomorrow. And I make up things as I go along, and yesterday I wrote something out that says, if yesterday was like tomorrow, we'd have no problem because we know what was coming. We don't know what's coming, and that's where you don't have the tools to do it with sometimes. But there's where we're at, and I agree with the statement, but I think Mr. Vieira's statement years back, we need a comprehensive study to what we're going to need in the next 15 or 20 years, because what we put in today will more than likely not fit the bill for a long, long time. It's like saying, I don't want this to happen because my property values are going down. If they're going down in this city, you live in another era. Thank you.
Councilman Goose, did you have anything you wanted to say?
No, I just, and I know we got the master plan study going on. We know there are some needs. I'm still of the mindset that you have a lot of development going up vertically, and we should be looking at some of those buildings that are going up vertically to see how we can partner with those folks to cut the cost. Most of the calls in the city are really not structure fires. Most of our calls are emergency calls for medical. So I think if you look at some of the buildings that are going up vertically, and you might can get some lease deals or things like that, or some kind of incentives with some of these other corporations that are building right now, we might be able to fill some of those gaps. But again, the study's coming, but I've always said, if you look at some of the buildings that are going up, we might be able to partner with some of those folks.
Mr. Massey, before you jump in, I just want to say a few things. This board wears two hats, one is City Council, one is CRA. We're talking CRA funds for a proposed fire station. After my discussions with Van Loan, over the last 2 years, and with Firefighter Union 754, CRA funds can be used for purchasing land, not for building buildings. Now, if I'm wrong, Mr. Massey, correct me. But as this entity that we are now, we need to discuss with firefighters, with the chief, and with CAC monies boards on where we can buy properties for it. And if we're going to do that, we better do that quickly before the cost of properties go up. Mr. Massey.
Yes, sir. Real quickly, any expenditure of CRA funds have to comply with both Chapter 163 of the Community Redevelopment Act and must be consistent with the adopted community development plan for that community redevelopment area. So those are the two things legally we look at every time we expend CRA dollars. Chapter 163 limits to some degree, as Mr. Carlson stated, what we can use CRA dollars for. And one of the express limitations in the statute is that we cannot pay for the construction or expansion of administrative buildings for public bodies or police and fire buildings. There are a couple other limitations that the statute sets out. We're not supposed to be paying for capital improvements that are part of the capital improvement plan that the city has adopted, because that's part of the city budget. And we're not supposed to be paying for general government operating expenses. Those are big no-nos under the statute. But that does not mean that, you know, most of the community development areas have land assemblage programs to assemble lands for purposes consistent with the community redevelopment plan. So that would be probably the best vehicle where we might be able to assist after this plan has been adopted, has been presented to you all by the fire department and you as city council to decide kind of how you want to go about implementing, how the CRA may be able to participate in that. So.
Councilman Dingfelder, do you want to make a motion?
Yes. I'd just like to the motion will be on the casual side, but I'd like this body to at least give some indication of support for this effort, so that fire doesn't feel left out. And specifically, my motion would be to request that Ms. Van Loan work with our real estate department and any other relevant city staff to try and identify an appropriate location, either in the downtown or channel side CRAs, for a possible needed firehouse, and get back to us within 90 days.
Is that including the input of Fire Union 754 and Fire Rescue?
Absolutely.
Since they know best on what they need.
Absolutely.
Is there a second?
Michelle has a perplexed look.
Van Loan is.
I mean,
Well, just that I don't think that real estate or our department is in a position to best assess what locations are best for TFR. So we're happy to work with TFR once they have identified their general vicinity.
Well, yes and no. I mean, you know downtown better than TFR does in terms of the land. So my request, Michelle, and I appreciate the clarification, my request is that you work closely with any department, including TFR and the union, if to explore this and to try and identify a possible location. And then when it comes to the money, we'll turn back to Morris and Brian and the finance people and see what we can do about it.
We have a motion that's been made by Councilman Dingfelder, seconded by Councilman Vieira. Roll call vote, please.
Cedro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Vieira? And Goons?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, Board.
Is that it, Councilman Dingfelder?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Goods?
No, sir.
Councilman Miranda?
I'm gonna follow Mr. Good. No, sir.
All right, and nothing from me. Motion to receive and file.
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll see everyone at 5:01 tonight.
Thank you, sir.
So, relative speaking here, construction location, plan development area. I don't have visuals of these